Today is Thursday, June the 12th, and it's an appropriate day for me to share some of the heaviness that's come over me this week for some reason. Quick update on the Spain thing. Looks like I'm halfway through getting our application in for a digital nomad visa where I will be a freelancer, hopefully working in Spain, and a freelancer for some companies that I own is kind of technically how it works out with the contracts. So that's kind of cool, kind of encouraging. I don't know whether we'll pull the trigger on utilizing the visa to stay in Spain, but at least the wheels are in motion so that we can figure it out. But this week in particular, when all this talk about lack of productivity, I thought I would sort of open this conversation up a little bit because there's a couple things that I've noticed that I'm challenged by. And it's not despair or depression, it's just a reality of being a business owner and not an operator in a business. I stand at arm's length from our active business, and we have great people that do great work every day, but there's just things that are popping up. And this week it occurred to me as I'm working through some of the challenges that come along with growth. You've heard me talk about over the last couple of weeks putting an accountant in place locally, taking our overseas work, bringing it here, because for the small price difference, having a physical body here that can join us in our office when we need them or be available to meet with our team is really, really helpful. And so that's really great. But now what's happened is we've moved on to some other things that I, as a business owner, am really feeling the pressure of. And one of them is there's this book I read called The E-Myth. I think I've got it back here. Good old E-Myth. This is a classic book. And it talks about how a great business should be something like a franchise. Franchise is a little bit of maybe an ugly word for some business owners to hear, but the idea is that you want to build a business where you can take average people and make them great. That's not to suggest that average people are going to become great, because most people aren't in a position to maybe do that for a whole bunch of reasons. But as a business owner, the alternative to not building a business where you have systems and processes that can take average people and make them great, the trade-off for that is that you just spend, I think, your entire life in perpetual frustration because you get annoyed that people don't do the things you want them to do. You tell them over and over again, you think you've put in like some little tools to help them, but at the end of the day, you are placing too much autonomy on your team, and that even though people want autonomy, they still want the ability to be productive and to not waste their time and to feel like they're contributing something. Everyone, I think, has a different level of value that they believe they're contributing to an organization. So this week, we have some gaps in our process. We have some gaps in how we mobilize our crews to get them out to the field. We have some gaps in being very clear about what the expectations are every day. And we have conversations, lots of conversations. We use technology like Teams to have actual meetings and videos, and all that stuff is cool. But at the end of the day, we're still in a position, I realize, we're still in a position where there are parts of what we're doing every day where we are relying on people's memory to help them. And so as a business owner, my job is to improve our systems, improve our processes so that we don't have to depend upon people's memory to do something. For example, what tools do I need to bring to the site? This is a unique job. I'm probably going to need these tools instead of these tools. And then when I get to site, okay, what is my actual scope of work? I'm going to be here for the next 4 weeks. How do I know which things to knock out first? And it's interesting because a year ago, I forced us off of a project management system that just really wasn't very helpful. It's basically just a glorified Excel spreadsheet with a bunch of tabs, but built as kind of a website. But anyway, now that we're in charge of our own technology, there's a lot of cool things that we can do to fill in these gaps. So as a business owner, we're challenged by wishing that our team could do more. And it becomes, for me, the weight of this week has me feeling like, man, is this even worth it? Like, why not go be a solopreneur somewhere where I could just work on my own, do my own thing, and life would be less stressful and there would be less things to concern myself with. But the truth is, as I stand back, the people on our team have the same type of worries and anxieties, but theirs are structured a little differently. I think theirs sounds something like, no matter how hard I work, I'm not going to make enough money. The cost of living is going up. I've got a young family. How am I going to pay for them? Like, our team is coming to each day with their own set of worries and stress and anxieties. And so I've always said I want our place of work to be the least stressful place in someone's life. But to deliver on that expectation, I have to make sure that we are removing from our team the things that don't make them productive. And one of those things that doesn't make them productive is having to remember to do certain things because the company hasn't put them in a position to succeed, meaning a mob list. Here's everything you're going to need for your job. Check it off. Make sure you didn't forget anything. Or because we bid a job, we know the scope of work. Each day we should be able to, our project managers should be able to pick off the scope of work that needs to be done for any given day and get it done. Now, someone listening to this would say, yeah, that's like Gantt charts and project management and schedules. And yeah, maybe, except all that stuff is pretty complicated. And for people in our line of work, they've got dirty hands, they're wearing PPE, they don't want to pinch and expand on a screen. They just want to go do their work, take home their paycheck, go home, make sure nobody gets hurt, fill out safety paperwork. And my job is to make sure that they can do that. So much like I'm challenged as a business owner to feel the weight and the burden of all of the things that we could be better at, that instead of that creating a sense of despair in my life, it's now become the catalyst for saying, wow, I really got to step up as an owner and give our team the tools they need so that they can succeed. And to the extent that I can remove from them all that manual memory work and instead can just put things in place, can put tasks or technology or tools in place to help them, I will remove some of that frustration that they're feeling. And then recognizing that our team is coming every day to their work with a whole backpack full of stuff, emotionally and otherwise, that only gets compounded in heaviness by our lack as a business to provide them with tools to help them succeed. So as a business owner, I know certainly a lot of my pals get frustrated because it feels like very thankless work running a business, because you feel like people don't do the right job, they don't do it the way you said, which is interesting because I have a rule in our business that you can't just say something to someone. It has to be in writing. It has to be acknowledged so that no one can say, well, I told you so. Well, I didn't really hear it that way, yada, yada, yada. So I'm challenged as a business owner because of my pals who would say, look, this is all not worth it. I actually think it is worth it. I think it's worth it because first of all, I'm able to support my family by running a great business. But if I don't run a great business, I can't support my family. So my incentive is to not buckle under the stress and the anxiety and the frustration of what it means to be a business owner in Canada with the kind of friction that we're up against every day. I think my opportunity is to lean in harder and try to figure out how to make a better business. And for all my pals that don't want to do that, that just means they're going to spend their life upset every day and frustrated. And certainly we're not supposed to be Pollyannish about it and pretend that these frustrations aren't real. But how we hold them and how we deal with them, I think, makes all the difference in the world. And so while this week I'm feeling the burden of some of the gaps that we have, I believe within the next couple of weeks at most, I will have been able to elevate our our entire process of how we do what we do, so that our team can carry less of that can carry less of the burden of having to remember things and get frustrated that the communication is breaking down and that they just aren't getting what they need from us. So I think that the idea of taking average people and giving them the opportunity to be great is my responsibility. I don't have to make them go through that arc, but I have to create an environment where they have to work pretty hard to fail. And right now, that isn't the case in our business. Our people can fail every day, not because they want to fail, but because I haven't put something underneath them to catch them and backstop them in the event that they're going down the path of failing on a particular task or an item. So if you're a business owner listening to this, certainly an owner-operator is different than an owner. And I realize that for an owner-operator who is in the field every day with their team doing the stuff, that this sounds a little bit different because you are right there beside your team, helping to fill in those gaps. You are the system. You are the process. But for someone who's in my position as an owner, not an operator, I don't get to stand beside my team every single day and be the system for them. I have to build a business that, much like a franchise, gives the same result over and over again in a very repeatable pattern, and the burden of having to rely on people to be extraordinary isn't required. If someone is extraordinary or they're good, that just means they excel faster. But our business doesn't depend upon people being extraordinary. And right now, we have good people, and we are relying heavily on them every day to be good. Instead, what I need to be doing is creating a business where the business gives them the support that they need so that they can be good and great, and that we can take anybody who simply has an interest and a desire and some motivation. We can put them in our business and they can excel and they can achieve what they want to achieve. So I'm really challenged this week as an owner to hold these gaps really tightly and fix them. And I believe that on the other end will be just a different set of frustrations, maybe. But certainly this is better than the alternative. And I think being a business owner is a wonderful opportunity to create some value in the marketplace, but it doesn't come for free, and it is work. And I think that there is glory in the work. I don't think the destination is the goal. I think it is the path to getting there. And so I thought maybe spending a couple of minutes this morning to share where I'm at and the kind of week that I'm having might provide a little sense of context for anyone else listening to this that either is an owner operator or just an owner and are struggling with that whole people side of the business, and what it means to do a better job as an owner to build a business where you can take an average person and make them great.